Hey guys, Jobin here. Gonna give you a little update on my attempts to learn some knife making skills. I haven't really done a whole lot. I kind of started projects, or a few projects, and then got sidetracked busy shipping orders and stuff, which is actually a great problem to have. But here's what I got, and I'll tell you guys about it and my experiences doing it as a newbie, making a lot of mistakes. So this is a kitchen knife, an old kitchen knife. The wooden handle cracked and split and basically just fell completely off. So I took it and decided I'd put a new handle on it. And I made several mistakes here because, well, one, just because I'm not very good at this yet and I'm probably going to make mistakes even if I try not to. But I ran through this quickly as a rough draft. I like doing that. I like going through a process really quickly and just getting a sort of general idea for how it works. And one of the interesting things about that is that you do make mistakes, and then you get to figure out how to fix them. And one of the things that I did wrong, which is pretty visible, is that the pinholes, aren't lined up. They're crooked. I kind of just didn't even really check when I drilled the new ones. This knife originally had 3 rivets, but I didn't have any pin stock the right size for the existing holes, so I made new ones. The part of this knife that I was really interested in getting to was the part where I had a handle on it and got to try shaping it, because I hadn't done that for a while and I couldn't remember how hard or easy it was, or hadn't really practiced it much. And that part of it came out pretty good. I think I got a pretty decent blend to the existing bolster that was on the knife handle. Working around bolsters is a pain. I nicked it a few times and didn't even, well, I took out some of it, but there's still a scar on that side there. And right here, somehow, I don't know how this happened, there's a gap. That's a bummer. Like I said, really quick practice project. Overall, came out with a functional handle back on this kitchen knife that's very comfortable and I think well shaped. And I got a feel for how to do that. Also, by the way, these scales, I did these quite a while ago, and it was some type of, I don't even know if it's visible in this light. There we go. There's a liner. See the brown, and then it goes to the black of the micarta. These I epoxied together, and one of them warped, and that was one of the problems I ended up fixing, was basically planing that scale flat again. So I imagine if you look super close, the liner, out of frame, the liner probably isn't exactly the same thickness everywhere, because I had to sand it down to get the scale to fit flush with the tang. Okay, so there's that little thing. And so I did that pretty quickly and was like, yeah, okay, I kind of remember how to do this. And then I had this knife. You may remember it from the video, the stuff I got from USA Knife Maker Supply. It's a finished and hardened blade blank. I'm not even sure you could call it a blank. It's a knife that lacks everything, has everything except handle scales. So I went to my box of G10 scraps and picked out this, which is black and green G10, and I set about, cut it to size and set about drilling the holes. And that did not go as well as the kitchen knife. Maybe partly because there were 4 holes instead of 2, and problems started piling up. Now, for those of you who don't know, one of the common ways to do this is you have the knife tang all finished up with the holes in it where you want them to be. And you take your scales and you sandwich everything up like this, and you drill the holes. Now, This is just sort of an example clamp that happened to be really handy, but maybe you're starting to see one of the problems. And that's that 2 of the 4 holes are currently covered up. Also, since this is a very small scale, it's like 2 inches by 1 inch or something, there's not a lot of room with the clamp sticking off the bottom to set this down evenly on the drill press table. So I'm sure that with better clamps, I also tried vice grips, and not being a total noob, there's ways to get around that. But as I discovered later, a lot of the holes I drilled were very slightly crooked for whatever reason. Well, probably related to those problems that I just mentioned, because I had to move the clamps between drilling holes. Stuff probably shifted, and so I got done drilling the holes and the scales didn't fit basically at all. And I was pretty bummed out and confused, and I spent a while trying to make it a better fit and actually improved it a great deal. Early on, I couldn't even really get them on because those first 2 up near the handle didn't even go in. It would like get to here, and then the scale would like hit the bolster and wouldn't want to go all the way down. With a bunch of fiddling, mostly sanding down up here, I got the fit much closer to being acceptable, but there was still a problem with so many slightly crooked holes. For each pin you put in, it would add more pressure going in different directions. You can't really see my gestures here. Going in all different directions in the system. So the first pin would go in easy. Second pin would be a little bit of resistance. Third pin would take a lot of force and stuff would be binding. And the fourth pin would just be ridiculous. I didn't really want that much torque on the knife handle, so I eventually had to admit defeat and put these aside. Now, so I started on a second set of scales. And that's these here. They're partially finished. And what I did with this is I said, well, okay, I can pay much more attention to how level things are on the drill press table, and I bet I can sort of just completely sidestep that clamp problem. So what I did is I super glued, this isn't the right side, or that is the right side, I super glued one of the scales to the blade tang. Just like that, just the whole thing, the block, no holes in it yet. Set it down on the drill press table, drilled through all the holes. Then I took the other scale, super glued it to its side, flipped it over, drilled back through the same holes. I had everything very solidly in the same position, no clamps involved. So there was nothing obstructing getting to all the holes in one pass. And then super glue isn't actually all that strong, so at the end I just took a knife and went pop, and off it comes. That seemed to work really good. One sort of interesting thing is that even in a pretty hard material like G10, when you drill through it, the hole seems to close up a little bit. So I did what I thought would be the perfect size, and then had trouble getting the pins through and had to go up a size or 2. I may have actually overdone it. These might be a little looser than you would actually want. But, as you see, the pins themselves are actually a little bit crooked, so maybe that'll show up. But have the scales on, all 4 pins going through just fine. Pretty pleased with that. Again, this one has a bolster on it that I'm trying to work around, and that's tricky. I'm doing all the shaping of the point where it mates up before epoxying and pinning the scales on, because you have to. Once these are fixed, you can't do any fine sanding or detailing here without scratching up the bolster horribly. And actually, I already managed to put scratches on it, or 1 scratch on it, but it was pretty light, and I buffed it out. So hopefully I'll be able to finish these soon. And we'll have a completed kit knife, which I'll also have to make a sheath for. And this is gray and black, I think. You can sort of see it up there. I think it's going to look pretty good. Though I do kind of miss, really liked the green and black. Sorry, sad those didn't work. These pins, by the way, you may have noticed, are Dremel bits. These are, I use a lot of this kind, and these ones are worn out and they were lying around. So I decided to press them into service. I don't know how well they'll work, but it's something I'm trying. Alright guys, I have talked for quite a while now, so I will leave you. This is Jobin signing off saying, remember where your knife is.